So grabbing your ball, we're going to spend just 2 minutes today on each foot, a little less than we do on Mondays. And I'm the headless person here again, but this angle does work better, especially when we're rolling the feet. So I'm just going to leave it here. Follow my voice. Heel foot, ball of foot, back and forth. Right? But I want you to mix that up with, right, polka dots. So as you're rolling back and forth, find a spot. Oh, go ahead and press it, move, and release it. Right? So usually we do rolling back and forth in polka dot. I want you to just roll back and forth, find a tight spot, nail it right away. Pin it, stretch it, move on. All right? Pin it, stretch it, breathe, find a new spot. Okay? So we're going to do this here for another minute on this foot. Good. And remember to take this time to find your breath again, right? Big inhales and exhales. Yep, I'm using my wall here. My legs are a little tired from the last class, so I'm just going to take that burden off of my brain so I can really refocus here on what's going on in my foot. But now I want you to take the ball, and if this was your foot, right, so right here in the ball, right there in the center, I want you to imagine you're going to grip the ball and then throw it away. So I want the ball, instead of just below the ball of the foot, I actually want it right there, right in the middle, and imagine your toes as fingers picking up that ball and then throw it away, lift them up and spread them wide. All right, so imagine you're going to pick up that ball and then lift up, throw it away. So you're going to kind of rock back as if you're going to pick the ball up and then push down on it as you throw it away. Good. Rock back, rock on. Good. So really try to focus on the movement of the toes here, right? Get as much movement as we can. Let them breathe, get apart from each other. Good. And then last 30 seconds, just do a little inversion, eversion. Just roll a little bit into out. In and out. Good. And shake out that foot. Right? Do our little one leg stance. In case you need a reminder of why we do this work on the feet, you should be able to feel it right away. Feel the difference from one side to the other. All right, go ahead and switch. Right? So again, rolling back and forth, that vertical, right? Vertical stripping. If you find a tight spot, stop, poke it at it. It means pin and stretch it, right? Rock on, rock on. Find a new spot, pin and stretch it. Rock off. If you're not finding on this foot that you really have much going on, feel free to go back to the first if you've got stuff over there that you want to spend a little bit more time on. Just make sure you spend, explore the whole foot area, right? We talked about arch, outer edge, back by the heel, up by the ball of the foot. Make sure you explore all those areas. Good. Same thing, movement of the toes. We really want those toes to find their own space away from each other. They spend so much of their days right next to each other, even stacked on top of each other, right? Get them apart. Good. All right, so now we're going to put the ball, like I said, right there in the ball of your foot, right there in the center. Imagine you're going to pick up that ball with your toes and then press onto it and throw it away. That means lifting and spreading your toes. So rock back, pick it up, rock on, throw it away. Rock back, pick it up, rock on, throw it away. Good. Good, and let's spend the last 30 seconds on anything that you need. Maybe a little eversion, inversion here. Rolling, getting that movement from the ankle as much as you can. Basically moving the ball from the big toe to the pinky toe. Right? And we're loosening up that fascia. We're trying to get some fluid back in these spaces. The fascia on the bottom of our foot is very, very thick. We want to try to mostly get fluid into those spaces, right? That's why drinking water is so, so important as well. Keep ourselves hydrated. Keep that fascia hydrated. And just like after you get a massage, you want to drink a lot of water. If you're doing rolling, same idea. Drink water. Get some fluid into those tissues. Flush everything out. All right. Shake out that foot. Go to our one leg stance. Maybe even a couple squats. Feeling the difference, right? We talked about focusing on being a hip movement, not a knee movement. Maybe stand up tall, pull the shoulders back, tuck the tailbone, open up through the space. Good. All right, so we're just going to do a little work here, stretching the feet and calves using the wall, and then we're going to work up the chain. So using your wall or not using your wall, I'm going to show you with the wall and without, because it's a better angle. But with the wall, I do recommend if you have it, hands on the wall. Want to push into the wall as you push your heel down. All right, so heel down, knee straight to start. And then from here, we're going to pick up that back foot, so heel up to the ceiling, toes into the floor, hip going forward, stretching the bottom of the foot here. 3 breaths. Good, and then we're going to flip it over, so tops of the toes go down, front of the ankle goes forward, front of the hip goes forward, stretching the top of the foot. Good, and back to here, heel down. This time we're going to keep the heel on the floor, so keep the heel pressing down, but bend that knee. So take the knee down towards the toes. 3 breaths. Good, and come up and switch sides. So I'm going to show you this angle here. Just stay with the wall if you have it. All right, so heel down. Heel pressing down, hips forward. 3 breaths. You have the wall, you're pushing here. And then come on up on your toes. Up, tuck that tailbone. Feel that stretch. Remember, you're picking up that back heel straight into the ceiling. Good, and flip. Tops of the toes down, front of the ankle forward. And then go back to heel down. Now we're going to bend that back knee, focusing on keeping that heel pressed into the floor. Good. All right, shake that out. Grab your ball. We're going to work our way up a little bit. We're going to go into the quad. Okay? So I'm going to go this way, but I'm going to show you on this leg what I'm actually doing. Okay? So we have that line, if you think from your knee up into your hip, that middle line, that's an IT band, real thick fibrous tissue. We're not going to roll that. We're not going to change that. What we want to work on is the muscles that attach to that. So I'm in front of the IT band, so I'm in front of that midline, and the ball is right here. And I'm just going to do a little back and forth in this space. Okay? So this muscle, this is our vastus lateralis out here, right? one part of our quadricep muscle. And if that vastus lateralis gets so locked tight down to our IT band, it kind of shuts down our other muscles of the quadricep, specifically our vastus medialis, which is the one on the inside. And that one really is important for the mobility and movement of our kneecap and our knee health. So I want to make sure that we're not completely locked down here on this lateral side. Okay? So again, I'm working this space not down by the knee, about mid-thigh up, right in that space. So I'm doing a little, right, a little up and down, maybe a little side to side. Move the ball, find a new spot, work on it, breathe. And we're going to stay on this side for about 30 more seconds. And then we will switch. So I'm in front of that IT band. Just let that ball kind of nuzzle into the tissues here. Good. Okay, let's do the same thing on the other side. And again, change however you need to. I've got the ball right in here, right? Looking in this space. Do a little, right? We'll squat down, stand up. The ball's going to travel this way. Roll forward a little bit more to the front of the quad. Just feel around there. Obviously, give yourself what you need. Okay, so after we roll the quads, we're going to stretch the quads. Then we're going to roll the hips and stretch the hips. And then we'll work up into the upper body a little bit as well today. Remember our breath here. You find a tight spot, press and hold it, and breathe. And just imagine if this was a knot, and the ball is just going to kind of nuzzle in there and get it to loosen up and relax and release. And that's our goal. All right, so you can put the ball down, make sure you're not going to step on it. We're going to stretch the quads, and I want to do it standing up. So I want you to use the wall here and really focus on a good quad stretch. Too many times we just grab our foot and we just kind of hang out here and not think about what's going on. So we want to make sure that the knee, number one, is tucked underneath the hip, both from this angle, right, and from this angle. We don't want to be out like this, right? So it's tucked in here. Heel comes to the butt, or as close as you can get it. Shoulder is not here. We don't want to collapse into this space. So I roll my shoulder back. I'm staying nice and tall. Now I'm pulling my heel in, getting a nice stretch all the way from my hip crease down into my knee. I'm going to hold this for 3. And then, using your wall for balance, kick your foot and kick it aggressively into your hand. Kick, 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 kick. Holding that resistance for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Pull it back in, stand tall. Okay, so we're going to kick it out one more time. Ready? Set. And go. Kick aggressively. Kick in your hand. Hold, 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 hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull it back in. Stay tall. And breathe. And shake it out. And switch to the other side. All right, so same thing. Knees tucked in. Under the hip. Shoulder, hip, knee, right? Should be the angle here. One, or shoulder on top, then the hip, then the knee stacked. One on top of the other. Ready? Kick into your hand and hold. And pull it back in, nice and tight. And kick it back and hold. And bring it back in, nice and tight, stand tall. Good, and let that go. Good. Lengthening through those quads. All right, now ball, hip, right? Let's do the lower glutes first, so that glute max. So I'm right in this space, basically exploring, right, the biggest part of our booty, the fleshiest part. Let that ball get in there, find that ball and socket joint, and kind of navigate your way around the joint, not necessarily on it, but around it. Okay, there's some deep muscles in there, your deep external rotators. One of them is called your piriformis, right, which can be really, really tight. So be gentle here as you need, but we'll roll around there, find tight spots, and again, just like we do with our foot, if you find a tight spot, go ahead and pin and stretch it, reach up, and then reach away. So I'm reaching away from the wall here as my hip goes into the wall. If you can tell that from my camera angle here, but I'm gonna roll, 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 roll. Here's a tight spot, I'm gonna push into it with my hip, reach up and away through my torso. Good, and finding that. Good, and let it just massage. Find it again, find a knot, imagine that knot, and imagine the ball just kind of got a nuzzle in there, and eventually with that strands of muscle just release. Good, and switch to the other side, right? So again, I want you to roll, explore, but when you find a tight spot, press, hold, pin, and stretch. Okay, so I'm pushing into the ball to pin it, and I'm stretching all out of the space to let those muscles lengthen. Right, same thing, ball and socket joint, and just explore around that space. All right, now let's take it up to the high glute space. So remember your body landmark is the brim of your pelvis, right? Gonna put the ball just below it and roll. And I go from my tailbone or my sacrum, right, out to the hip. So I'm doing a horizontal kind of scrub here, right underneath the rim of the pelvis. So I'm going in to out, right? Medial to lateral, however you want to call it. And I'm just going to do it on both sides. So make sure that ball doesn't go on the spine itself, but right next to it, underneath the rim of the pelvis there, and just kind of scrub from in to out. Let's do that a few times. Okay? So just kind of shifting the hips, scrubbing that ball on one side, then the other side. Okay, now I'm taking that ball a little bit more to the outside. So you find the rim of your pelvis here on the side. We're going to explore that space from the rim down to the ball and socket joint. So for me, that's the ball and socket joint. I'm going to go all the way up. It's almost the full circumference of the ball in this space here, right? So I'm sideways on. I'm working this space right here, right? And this is another one. You can find a tight spot, pin, and stretch it right away. Good. And go a little back and forth, a little up and down. In and stretch. Run this again in this side hip space. right? And just changing sides whenever you're ready. Okay. Right in here. Here's a root of my pelvis, and that's usually higher than you think it is. So feel around for it. Okay? Put the ball right underneath it, and then work it down towards that ball and socket joint. Go ahead and just stay in this space. Let's see, about 30 more seconds, maybe a little less. And then we're going to do a stretch here in the standing position before we work the upper body a little bit. Okay? All right, so now what we're going to do is going to target that hip space, ball down. Now, if you have a doorway, this might work a little bit better. I'm just going to show you on the wall. I'm going to show you here, I guess. Yeah, I can show you here. Okay, so I'm going to take one leg in front of the other. Okay, so the leg that's closest to the wall I'm holding on to, right, is behind. And then I'm going to take both arms up overhead, and I'm going to take the hip that's in the front and send it away from my wall here. Okay, so I've got my arms up and overhead. If that doesn't work, you don't have to do that. You can keep your hand right here. The idea is you want to kind of send that hip away and a little bit forward. Right? The other thing is you want to squeeze those inner thighs together. So think about giving a good squeeze as you reach up if you can, lengthen. Now we're getting a stretch down the side, especially through that hip space. 3 breaths. Good. Same thing on the other side. All right, so the leg that's closest to the wall is the one that goes behind. Other arm goes up, legs together, and we're sending that hip away. Okay, so I'm going to show you from this angle here. So again, my leg that's closest to the wall is the one that's behind. The other one's in front. And I really want to squeeze those inner thighs together. Send that hip away. And that stretch through that hip space. So like I said, if you have a door frame, right, you can hold on to the frame a little bit as you do this, allows you to sink a little deeper into your stretch. All right, so next up, we're going to go up and find that bony landmark again, right? Top of your pelvis, but this time we're going to take the ball right on top of it. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to set the ball right on top of it. And so imagine your spine and your pelvis, right? Doesn't really make a 90-degree angle, but think of that. If there was a 90-degree angle in there, it's just that corner. Find it, kind of stick it into that space. So the ball's nuzzling up against the spine, up against those spinal extensors. And I'm just doing little bobs up and down so that ball's just kind of scrubbing a little bit in that vertical pattern. So the ball, this is my spine, the ball's right up next against it. We're kind of nuzzling up against those spinal extensors and letting it massage into those, right? Those spinal extensors are those big ropey muscles that are right on either side of your spine. Okay, now I'm going to go a little scrub side to side. So again, that ball's sitting right in that 90-degree space, and now I'm taking it just across the top of the pelvis just a little bit. All right, so now we can imagine just kind of making a little L pattern here, right? A little vertical, horizontal, a little vertical, horizontal, down and up, and breathing. So we're getting those spinal extensors, lumbar, right? Spinal extensors in the low back. Maybe a little QL. QL is a little deeper muscle. It's a very, very touchy muscle, right? It tends to be overactive and cause problems through the back. Right, and then just take it to the other side whenever you're ready. All right, so again, finding that 90-degree little corner in there, doing a little vertical, a little horizontal. Right, and you can feel, enough for me, my right side is way, way tighter than my left. Why? I don't fully know, but at least I'm aware that my right side is tighter. And so as I'm going through my exercises or moving throughout my day, I know that my right side, for whatever reason, maybe tries to work a little bit harder than my left. So just having that little bit of body awareness, I can kind of say, hey, left side, are you sleeping or are you helping? Right? Now that's not to say that a tight muscle is always strong. Right? Tight muscle that's tight all the time could actually be weak. So we want to try to get ourselves as balanced as possible, and that's why one of the biggest benefits for this class, I believe, is just like finding your body, right? Finding the roadmap for your body. What is tight? What is not? Focusing on the areas that are tight. Trying to get them to release, and finding that balance for your center here. All right, so let's move up. Next pointing landmark is our shoulder blade, okay? Angle this up a little bit. So, shoulder blade, right? We have the very bottom of it. You can kind of feel it. It's kind of like a V pattern, right? You're gonna put that ball right in the bottom of that shoulder blade here. And again, do a little horizontal. And then take a vertical right up next to what we call the spine of the scapula, which is right up, this is my shoulder blade. I'm gonna go right up and down next to it. So the ball is actually gonna nuzzle between the edge of the scapula and your spine. Okay, so again, think of that L pattern. It's a little backwards L here now, but horizontal, underneath the shoulder blade, vertical, up next to it. Right, and go ahead and switch sides whenever you're ready. Right, finding the bottom of the shoulder blade. Yeah, it comes to a point pretty much, but you just kind of stick it in that space there. But if you have a tight spot anywhere in here, press it, hold it. Remember, it's maybe just a simple grip and stretch. You're pressing, you're reaching out of that space. So just reaching out maybe a little bit over. Maybe it's out. Maybe it's across the body. Depending on where that tight spot is. Add movement at a joint above and below, right? So if we're in that shoulder blade space, easiest movement is here. In the shoulder. And just take 30 more seconds here. Around the shoulder blade, so below it and next to it. And we'll go up to the shoulders and neck. All right, so now let's just do a little bit of work on the shoulder, back of the shoulder here. So imagine the back of your armpit, finding that fleshy space right there, the back of your shoulder, and stick the ball in there. And notice my feet are kind of away from the ball. I have a stagger stance here so I can kind of lean into the ball, but it's very controlled, right? I don't have all my weight, all my force into that space. So now I'm going to go from the back, right? So I'm going to go from here on to right there on the side of my shoulder. Do a little up and down. Okay, so I'm still in this space. And just changing sides. Right? Starting here, and then letting the ball come here. Moving the ball around. Feeling for tight spots in those tissues. All right, now we're going to change it. So we're going to take the ball to the front, right? So we put the ball here. Now we're going to put it in the front. So what we're targeting here is where your chest muscle, that chest pectoral muscle, attaches in the shoulder. And we spend so much time in our shoulder forward position, that muscle gets super, super tight. So we want to try to loosen it up so that allows us to pull those shoulders back a little bit more. We can strengthen the back, yes, that's very important, but if we strengthen the back and don't loosen the front, the work in the back is not, we're not going to get the full benefit of it, right? So I'm sticking the ball right in that little notch there between the shoulder and the chest, and I'm just moving the ball around. Just let it nuzzle in there. Looks a little strange, right? Like I'm kissing the ball, but just let that ball nuzzle into those tissues as you breathe, and just switch sides whenever you're ready. Good, right? And let's just take a moment, grab your fingers behind, squeeze the shoulder blades, lift the chest, and let's stretch that space we just worked on. So what I'm doing here, I've got my fingers together, I'm reaching my hands down to the floor first, then I'm squeezing my shoulders and my chest a little lift instead of doing that, right? So hands down, squeeze your shoulder blades, then lift the chest. You don't want to get a big arch here through that lumbar spine. You just want to think about lengthening. Good. All right, let's do one more spot, and that's our traps. So finding your collarbone, and you're going to put that ball right on top of that, right? And so the trapezius space, that's that muscle right here. It gets so tight, holding up our head, right? So you're just going to imagine your back of your shoulder blade is a shelf. Put the ball right on that shelf, and then we're just moving, right? Letting that ball move in a horizontal pattern. Okay, and no doubt you're going to find tight spots here. No doubt. Press, hold, and then very, very controlled movement of the head, whether it's side to side, tipping the ear towards the shoulder, looking up, whatever feels like gives you just a nice stretch out of that space. But make sure it's very, very slow here, slow and controlled. Okay, and just alternate sides. Just want to get this in. A couple other things. Running out of time. Good. Big inhales and exhales. Remember, you can add that head movement. Just explore slowly. Right. Get into that kind of, just like we found that, right? That L space in the low back. Can we find it here? Where the neck meets onto the shoulder. That's right, the medius part of that trap. Can you get the ball to just kind of nuzzle in there and breathe? Again, work the ball into those muscle tissues. Let them release. All right, and let's put the ball down. Grab your strap or your towel, whatever you have, doesn't matter. And we're gonna just loosen up, continue to loosen up the shoulders. So grab your towel, your strap, you're gonna grab it with your palms forward, thumbs out. Okay? I'm gonna do a staggered stance here. And what I'm gonna do is pull on the towel or strap. It doesn't have to be flexy, towel works just fine. Pull it apart so there's no tension. Pull, pull, pull. Now you're gonna wrap it back so like you're gonna wrap a bow, tie a bow around your hips. And then as you do that, roll those shoulders back. So same thing, my hands are reaching for the floor. I'm just rolling my shoulders back. And as I do that, I lift my chest. I want you to hold here. Big inhales and exhales. One more. Good. Release. Roll the shoulders. Now I want you to do the same thing in the back. So this time, palms face back, thumbs face towards each other. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull it apart, reach down. And then once you're reaching for the floor, squeeze your shoulder blades together and lift that towel strap away from your butt and hold. 3 breaths. So same thing, chest is on a chain, lifting up to the ceiling, hands reaching down for the floor. And release. Good. Let's just do some big rolls. I hope you feel looser through that chest, shoulder, thoracic space. Okay. And shake out. We're going to finish up down on the floor in child's pose. Okay. So coming down into child's pose, either knees wide or knees together, whatever feels best to you. And we're going to press hips onto the heels, again, within your comfort zone. I want you to think as we come down, as your hips are your anchor, and you're going to walk forward. Okay, so just walk your hands forward. Think about your tailbone reaching for your feet, hands forward. And I want you to inch your fingers forward. Really think about lengthening out of that low back, out of the sides of your torso. Take big inhales and exhales. Now let's add a little lateral stretch to it. Take your left hand out to the left edge of your mat. Take your right hand and put it on top of your left. Interlace those fingers. And then pull back to that right side for 3 breaths. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So walk your right hand out to the right side of your mat, left on top. And then you're going to pull back to that left hip. Good. And then coming back to the middle one more time. And this time we're going to walk your fingers forward, really send the toe back. And then I want you to lift your fingers. Keep your hands on the mat. Lift your fingers, spread them wide. And lift them up. And then can you roll over so that the palms, roll your hands over so the palms are up. And you continue to reach your fingers out, forward, and wide. Good. And then coming up, and we're going to finish on our back and find our breath. So I give you the option of using the brick or books underneath your tailbone or legs up the wall, whatever feels best to you. Okay? So if you've got the brick or books and you want to put it under your pelvis here, make sure you find a space that you feel so fully supported and can relax. Okay? So you can do knees bent, feet flat. You can put bottoms and feet together, let the knees just fall out to the side. Okay? You can go waterfall if that feels great to you. So waterfall will be the same as legs up the wall. So whatever position feels best for you, go ahead and find that space now. And we'll get into our breath. Arms out in a T or up in a Y, whatever feels best for you. Think about the shoulders rolling open. We found that space earlier. We're rolling and the muscle activation there. Try to keep it here. All right, so with our breath, big belly, inhale through the belly. Continue that inhale through the diaphragm. Into the lungs, spreading those ribs in all directions. And then reversing on the exhale. So starting with the lungs, through the diaphragm, into the belly. Finishing with the belly button pulled into the spine, and then that pelvic floor pulled up to your center as well. All right, and I encourage you to stay in this space. Take a few more breaths for yourself. And thank yourself for taking the time to work today. And thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful rest of your week and the weekend. Miss you all. Bye-bye.